Stop. If you're about to change your oil, you need to hear this first, because one of these 17 mistakes could turn your engine into expensive scrap metal, and most people make at least 3 of them without even knowing. I'm talking about blown engines, seized pistons, and repair bills that'll make your eyes water. And the worst part? Some of these mistakes won't show up until it's already too late. Look, changing your oil seems simple, right? Drain the old stuff out, pour new stuff in, slap on a new filter, and you're done. But here's the thing. I've seen more engines destroyed by bad oil changes than I've seen ruined by neglect. And I'm not talking about professional mechanics messing up. I'm talking about regular people trying to save a few bucks, or even worse, trusting someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Today, we're going through every single mistake that can turn a basic oil change into an engine killer. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll know exactly what to watch out for, whether you're doing it yourself or paying someone else to do it. Here's the reality. Your engine has thousands of moving parts, all rubbing against each other at insane speeds. The only thing keeping those parts from grinding themselves into dust is oil. Good, clean, properly applied oil. But when you mess up an oil change, even in small ways, you're basically setting up your engine to fail. And these failures don't happen slowly. They happen fast, sometimes in just a few hundred miles. The problem is that most of these mistakes seem harmless at first. You won't hear any weird noises right away. Your check engine light won't come on immediately. Everything will feel normal. Until one day, it's not. And by then, the damage is already done. We're talking about metal shavings floating around your engine, oil passages getting blocked, bearings wearing out, and in the worst cases, complete engine seizure. So let's get into these mistakes, because knowing them could save you thousands of dollars and a massive headache. Mistake number 1. Using the wrong oil viscosity. This is huge, and so many people get it wrong. Your owner's manual tells you exactly what viscosity oil your engine needs. Could be 5W30, could be 0W20, could be 10W40. Whatever it says, that's what you need to use. But people think they're being smart by using thicker oil in an older engine, or thinner oil for better fuel economy. Here's what happens when you use the wrong viscosity. If the oil is too thick, it can't flow through the tiny passages in your engine fast enough, especially when it's cold. Parts start running dry, friction increases, and wear accelerates. If the oil is too thin, it can't maintain the protective film between moving parts under high pressure and heat. Metal touches metal, and that's when things start going very wrong very quickly. Modern engines are built with extremely tight tolerances. They're designed for specific oil viscosities. When you change that, you're changing how the entire engine operates. Some newer engines with variable valve timing can actually malfunction with the wrong oil viscosity because the system relies on precise oil pressure. Mistake number 2. Overfilling the oil. People think more oil is better. It's not. When you overfill your engine, the crankshaft starts hitting the oil in the pan. This whips the oil into a foam, kind of like a milkshake. Foamy oil can't lubricate properly because it's full of air bubbles. Your oil pump starts sucking in this aerated oil, and suddenly your engine isn't getting the protection it needs. But it gets worse. That foaming action increases pressure inside your engine. This can blow out seals, push oil past piston rings, and even damage your catalytic converter when oil gets into the exhaust system. I've seen engines with blown rear main seals just from someone adding an extra quart of oil. The damage from overfilling can happen in just a few miles of driving. By the time you notice blue smoke coming out of your exhaust or oil leaking everywhere, expensive damage has already occurred. Mistake number 3. Underfilling the oil. On the flip side, not putting enough oil in might be even worse. Your oil pump is designed to pick up oil from a certain level in the pan. When there's not enough oil, the pump starts sucking air. This causes oil starvation to critical engine components. The top end of your engine, like the camshafts and valve train, is usually the first to suffer because oil has to be pumped up there against gravity. These parts start running dry, and you get accelerated wear on cam lobes, lifters, and rocker arms. In severe cases, you can wipe out a camshaft in less than an hour of running. Even being just half a quart low can cause problems during hard acceleration or cornering when the oil sloshes away from the pickup tube. That's when you get momentary oil starvation, and even a few seconds without oil can cause permanent damage to bearing surfaces. Mistake number 4. Not replacing the drain plug washer. This seems like a small thing, but it matters. That little copper or aluminum washer on your drain plug is designed to crush slightly when you tighten it, creating a perfect seal. Once it's been crushed, it won't seal properly again. If you reuse an old washer, you're almost guaranteed to have a slow leak. Even a slow drip adds up. You could lose a quart of oil over a few thousand miles and never notice until it's too late. And we just talked about what happens when you're running low on oil. Some people try to over-tighten the drain plug to compensate for a worn washer. That's even worse because now you're stripping the threads in your oil pan. Fixing stripped threads in an oil pan can cost hundreds of dollars, or you might need a whole new pan. Mistake number 5. Over-tightening the drain plug. Speaking of over-tightening, this is a huge one. Oil pan threads are usually in aluminum, which is soft. When you crank down on that drain plug with too much force, you're deforming or stripping those threads. The correct torque spec for most drain plugs is surprisingly low, usually between 15 and 25 foot-pounds. That's hand-tight with a small wrench, not gorilla-tight with a breaker bar. But people think tighter is better, so they crank on it, and suddenly you've got damaged threads. Once those threads are damaged, your options are bad. You can try to rethread the hole, which doesn't always work. You can install an oversized drain plug, which is a Band-Aid solution. Or you can replace the entire oil pan, which on some vehicles means dropping the subframe and costs over $1,000 in labor alone. Mistake number 6. Using the wrong oil filter. Not all oil filters are created equal, even if they physically fit your engine. Cheap filters use cheap filter media that doesn't trap small particles as well. They use weaker bypass valves that can fail. They use thinner metal that can collapse under pressure. But here's the thing that gets people. Just because a filter fits doesn't mean it's right. Some filters might be too small, which means less filter area and less dirt holding capacity. They'll get clogged faster, and when they do, the bypass valve opens and unfiltered oil starts circulating through your engine. Other filters might not have the right flow rate. If the filter restricts flow too much, you get low oil pressure. If it flows too freely, you might not get adequate filtration. And some aftermarket filters have been known to have faulty anti-drainback valves, which means all your oil drains out of the filter when you shut the engine off. That causes a few seconds of dry running every time you start up, and those seconds add up to serious wear over time. Mistake number 7. Not priming the new oil filter. This ties into what we just talked about. When you install a dry oil filter, it takes a few seconds for oil to fill it up after you start the engine. During those few seconds, you've got reduced oil pressure and reduced flow to critical parts. The solution is simple. Before you install the new filter, fill it up with fresh oil. This pre-fills the filter media, so the moment you start the engine, you've got full oil pressure and full flow. It's cheap insurance against unnecessary wear. Some people say you can't do this with filters that mount horizontally because the oil will spill out. That's true, but you can at least coat the filter media inside with oil by pouring some in and letting it soak in, even if you can't fill it completely. Mistake number 8. Over-tightening the oil filter. Oil filters have a rubber gasket that seals against the engine block. When you tighten the filter, that gasket compresses and creates the seal. The correct installation is to tighten it hand-tight after the gasket makes contact. That's it. Usually about 3/4 of a turn after the gasket touches. But people get nervous about filters coming loose, so they grab a filter wrench and really crank it down. This crushes the gasket too much, and it can actually cause leaks. Worse, it can distort the filter housing or even crack it in extreme cases. And when you go to remove that over-tightened filter at the next oil change, you often end up tearing it apart because it's stuck so tight. The other problem with over-tightening is that it can damage the threads or the sealing surface on the engine block. Now you've got a permanent leak point that's expensive to fix. Mistake number 9. Double gasketing the oil filter. This is a sneaky one that catches even experienced people sometimes. When you remove the old filter, the rubber gasket is supposed to come off with it. But sometimes, that gasket sticks to the engine block instead. If you don't notice and you install the new filter with its new gasket, now you've got 2 gaskets stacked up. Here's what happens. You start the engine, and within seconds, Oil is pouring out from around the filter. Those two gaskets can't seal properly, and the oil pressure just blows them out. By the time you shut the engine off, you might have dumped most of your oil onto the ground. If this happens, and you don't notice immediately, you could run the engine with critically low oil and cause serious damage in just a minute or two. Always check the engine block where the filter mounts to make sure the old gasket came off with the old filter. Mistake number 10. Not lubricating the new filter gasket. Before you install a new oil filter, you should put a thin film of clean oil on the rubber gasket. This does two things. First, it helps the gasket seal better by filling in tiny imperfections. Second, it prevents the gasket from sticking to the engine block, which causes that double gasket problem we just talked about. Without oil on the gasket, the rubber can also tear or roll during installation, which creates an instant leak. It takes 5 seconds to wipe some oil on that gasket, and it can prevent a big mess and potential engine damage. Mistake number 11. Using cheap or wrong oil. All motor oil is not the same. Your engine needs oil that meets certain specifications, usually something like API SN, SP, or manufacturer-specific specs like GM Dexos or VW 502. These specs exist because different engines need different additive packages and different performance characteristics. When you buy the cheapest oil at the discount store, you might be getting oil that doesn't meet your engine's requirements. It might not have the right detergents to keep things clean. It might not have the right anti-wear additives to protect high-stress parts. It might break down faster under heat. And don't even get me started on fake oil. There are counterfeit oils out there that are basically just re-refined waste oil with some dye added. This stuff will destroy your engine fast. Stick with known brands from reputable sellers. Some modern engines also require synthetic oil. If your manual says synthetic, don't use conventional oil thinking you're saving money. You're not. You're setting up for expensive problems. Synthetic oil has a different molecular structure that provides better protection, especially in extreme temperatures and under high stress. Mistake number 12. Mixing oil types. Let's say your engine takes synthetic oil, but you're a quart low and you only have conventional oil on hand. Can you top it off? Technically, yes, but it's not ideal. When you mix different oil types or different brands, you're mixing different additive packages. These additives can interact in unpredictable ways. Some additives might cancel each other out, reducing protection. Some might react and form deposits. In most cases, you won't have immediate catastrophic failure, but you're not getting optimal protection either. And in some cases, with older engines or certain oil types, mixing can cause sludge formation. If you absolutely have to add a different oil in an emergency, do it to get home safely. Then change all the oil as soon as possible. Don't run a mixed batch for thousands of miles. Mistake number 13. Not checking for leaks after the change. This should be obvious, but people forget. After you finish the oil change, start the engine and let it run for a minute. Then shut it off and check for leaks. Look around the drain plug, around the filter, and anywhere else oil could escape. If you've got a leak and you don't catch it, you could lose significant oil before you notice. Even if the leak is small, it can get worse over time, as vibration and heat cycles cause things to loosen up or seals to fail further. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people do an oil change, not check for leaks, then drive away and leave a trail of oil down the street. By the time they realize something's wrong, the damage is done. Mistake number 14. Not running the engine before checking the oil level. After you add oil, you need to run the engine for about 30 seconds to a minute to circulate oil through the system and fill up the new filter. If you check the level immediately after filling, it'll read high because the filter is still empty. Then what happens? People think they're good, but they're actually a quart low once the filter fills up. They start driving. And now, we're back to that oil starvation problem we talked about earlier. The correct procedure is to add oil. Run the engine briefly, shut it off, wait a few minutes for the oil to drain back into the pan, then check the level and top off if needed. Mistake number 15. Ignoring the oil change interval. Your manufacturer gives you an oil change interval for a reason. Could be 3,000 miles, could be 5,000, could be 10,000 with synthetic. Whatever it is, That's based on engineering and testing to determine how long the oil can protect your engine under normal conditions. When you extend that interval, thinking you're saving money, you're gambling with your engine. Oil breaks down over time. It gets contaminated with fuel, water, and combustion byproducts. The additives get depleted. Eventually, it can't do its job anymore. Some people say, "But my oil still looks clean." That doesn't matter. You can't judge oil condition by looking at it. Plenty of dirty-looking oil still works fine, and plenty of clean-looking oil is already broken down. Stick to the recommended interval, or if you drive in severe conditions like stop-and-go traffic, short trips, or extreme temperatures, change it even more often. Mistake number 16. Not resetting the oil life monitor. Most modern cars have an oil life monitoring system that tracks when you need an oil change based on driving conditions. After you change the oil, you need to reset this system. If you don't, it'll tell you that you need an oil change when you don't, which is confusing at best. But here's the real problem. If the system thinks you're overdue for an oil change, it might put the engine into a reduced power mode on some vehicles to protect itself. You'll lose performance and efficiency for no reason. The reset procedure is usually simple, but it varies by vehicle. Look it up for your specific car and do it every time you change the oil. Mistake number 17. Disposing of oil improperly. This isn't an engine-killing mistake, but it's important. Used motor oil is toxic and terrible for the environment. 1 gallon of used oil can contaminate 1 million gallons of water. Don't pour it down the drain. Don't dump it in your yard. Don't throw it in the trash. Take it to an auto parts store, a quick lube place, or a recycling center. Most places accept used oil for free. It takes almost no extra effort and keeps dangerous chemicals out of our water supply. Here's the thing that ties all of these mistakes together. Every single one of them is completely avoidable. You don't need special tools. You don't need years of experience. You just need to pay attention and follow the correct procedure. But when you skip steps, use the wrong parts, or just don't care, you're playing Russian roulette with one of the most expensive components in your vehicle. I've seen engines with 50,000 miles that look like they've done 200,000 because of bad oil changes. I've seen engines lock up on the highway because someone forgot to tighten the drain plug. I've seen people spend $5,000 on engine rebuilds because they wanted to save $20 using cheap oil. The oil change is the single most important maintenance task for your engine's longevity. It's not complicated, but it has to be done right, every time. No shortcuts, no skip steps, no cheap parts. Because unlike a lot of other maintenance items where you might get away with cutting corners, oil is non-negotiable. Your engine will let you know when you've messed up, and by then, it's too late to fix it cheaply. So let's recap the big ones. Use the correct viscosity oil that your manufacturer specifies. Don't overfill or underfill. Replace that drain plug washer every time, and don't over-tighten anything. Use a quality filter that's designed for your engine, and prime it before installation. Make sure the old filter gasket came off before installing the new filter. Use the right type and quality of oil. Don't mix different types. And stick to the recommended change interval. Check for leaks after every change. Run the engine before checking the final level, and reset your oil life monitor if you have one. If you're doing your own oil changes, take your time and do it right. If you're paying someone else, make sure they're following these same principles. Don't be afraid to ask questions about what type of oil they're using or what filter they're installing. A good shop won't have any problem explaining their process. Your engine is an amazing piece of engineering with thousands of precision parts working together. Oil is what keeps all those parts happy. Treat it with respect, and your engine will run for hundreds of thousands of miles. Ignore these mistakes, and you'll be shopping for a new engine a lot sooner than you planned. Check out the next video, where we cover the warning signs your engine is about to fail.